Here's a common desire. I want to find leads on LinkedIn. And so you join a dozen groups, but nothing happens, which makes it easy to conclude that groups don't work. But here's what's actually true about LinkedIn groups. Visibility doesn't just happen automatically. You have to be strategic about what you do on LinkedIn, especially in how you use groups. Would you agree, Darlene?
Absolutely. The first question you have to ask before you join a group is anyone actually in here?
Right.
Is anyone even talking? And is my ideal client a member?
Great questions, because groups aren't a broadcast channel. Think of it like a networking room. And most people in that room, they enter and they start pitching right away. And you know what I'm talking about, because we've all been in networking groups where people sling their business card your direction. They barely even said hello. Am I right?
Oh, that's so true. And that's what I see. People treat a group like another feed to blast content into. But the groups that actually produce clients are the ones where someone reads the room first, notices what people are asking, what language they're using for their own problems before they even say a word. So, groups are one of the few places left on LinkedIn where you can watch a niche think out loud.
Ooh, like that. Good points. So, as we continue our discussion about what LinkedIn doesn't tell you about groups, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Dr. Nancy Zaire, sales psychologist, showing you how to acquire clients confidently without being salesy.
And I'm Darlene Petrie, lead generation strategist, helping professionals turn LinkedIn visibility into real business conversations.
And today we want to share three things that LinkedIn doesn't tell you about groups. First, member count doesn't matter. Second, groups are a backdoor way to meet people outside your niche. And three, comments build authority faster even than posts, especially in groups. And what's interesting, Darlene, is that all of these three factors connect back to something people forget the moment the discussion thread ends, and that is click.
Exactly. Because every good comment, every useful answer inside a group ends up the same way. Someone clicks over to your profile to decide if you're worth knowing.
Yes, and that's exactly why we created the LinkedIn Profile Lab. It's not about polishing your profile so it's beautiful, but so that it's effective and making it ready for that moment when someone presses click and they view your profile. So let's start with the first thing LinkedIn doesn't tell you about groups, and that is that member count is really, I have to say, it's a vanity number.
Mhm. I,
A
I,
group
I
with 40,000 members can be completely dead, and a group with only a couple hundred members is where genuine relationships can start and build. So if you're like me, Darlene, I assume that bigger groups meant more opportunity. And I used to filter groups by size, because when you search for groups, it'll tell you the size of the group. But that's not how groups actually behave. A large inactive group is just a graveyard with a fancy headline number attached to it. The real filter is actually not size. And I'd like you to expand on that.
and I do have to reemphasize about the size of the group being a vanity, because that's always the first thing people, when you talk to people about LinkedIn, well, oh, I have, like 10,000, 40,000, 50,000 followers, but and that's the same thing with a group. And so before joining a group, I always advise my clients to look at how recently people posted,
Mhm.
whether comments are getting replies, whether admins are still active. And that's key. Are the admins still active? And whether the same few people are talking to each other or if a real cross section is. A quiet group with a big number is worse than no group at all. It wastes your time, tells you nothing about your market. So LinkedIn isn't asking how many members does this group have? It's asking, is anyone actually here?
Wow. Well, you said something that was important to me, and two examples come to mind. One is a group that I belong to with over 55,000 members. And it seemed like a robust group. It actually is geographically based in South Florida. I'm in South Florida. Seemed like a perfect group, to join. But what I discovered is that the moderators don't moderate. And you mentioned that as one of the points to look for in selecting a group. And as a result, I believe that it's become a pitch fest. And the only thing that people are posting in that group is, buy my stuff. Here's my next webinar presentation. I'm doing whatever happening. There's no genuine conversations taking place in that group. On the other hand, I belong to a very small group. By the way, it's private, so it's not even it's not publicly displayed. Its messages. And this group is very strong because they have monthly global networking meetings. They encourage members to meet and talk to them. I actually met a few in my own area, which is kind of exciting, even though it's an international group. And so this is a group where not only have I built relationships, Darlene, I've actually developed clients from the group.
Wow, that's great.
And here's the big takeaway for our listener: 2 to 5 active groups. And again, these are groups where there's good moderation taking place, where there are real conversations going on, where your ideal client is perhaps a member. These will outperform 50 groups that you join because the numbers look good. So what's been your experience with groups?
And so I'm going to, I started out the same way, saying, oh wow, look, this one has so many people, thousands of members, and I'm going to join them and find that nothing happened. Nobody commented, a pitch fest. So on the other hand, let me tell you about a different group I belong to. I belong to a group like you in South Florida. I'm not in South Florida, I'm in Canada, but in my own area. And again, to meet people, and it has 244 members, and we have a mix of conversations and opportunities to post. And I say opportunities to post because we post about our business, usually without pitching, but getting to know what each other does. And that to me is much more productive than pitching. And I have met a couple of the people in Calgary where I live, in person, and had coffee with them, and it's great. Like, we talk business.
Yeah. So isn't it interesting that both of us belong to these small groups of a couple hundred members? Yours happens to be local, mine happens to be international, and yet it's the quality of the relationships that matter. And and obviously the number isn't it. And this brings us to the second point we want to discuss in what LinkedIn doesn't tell you about groups, because groups are a backdoor way for you to meet people outside your network. Most people think of a LinkedIn that it works through direct connections, and it does. But groups allow you to break this rule. Darlene, as a lead generation strategist, what do you see happening?
Well, I think of it as groups putting you in a room with people you'd otherwise never reach.
Right.
Outside a group, you need a mutual connection or a cold request to even see someone's activity clearly. And inside a group, you're already in the room together. No second degree wall in the way. You're able to send direct messages to every member in the group.
Right. I know how valuable that is for expanding your network, and getting the right fit people in your network. And in addition, the discussion threads in a group, I find that they become a marketing tool, a research tool for me to learn about what people are actually struggling with, the exact words or phrases that they use to express their challenge, not the words that perhaps AI might suggest or a marketing professional would, tell you are the right words to use. I've also discovered in these groups what people have actually tried. Maybe it's worked, maybe it doesn't. They might even make recommendations. That's been extremely helpful to me. And of course, what they're skeptical about, or maybe they've even given me a heads up about what not to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's information you can't get from surveys alone, because nobody's, going to answer a survey and kind of pour out in depth what's going on. They just kind of click a box. And but in a group, they're talking candidly from their experience about a particular issue.
And that's absolutely right, Nancy. That's why when we work with clients, we tell them lurk for a week in the group or so around there before you even post a word. In my experience, most people skip the lurking part and go straight into the pitching. Yeah, they join on Monday, they're pitching on Tuesday, and then they're wondering, why is nobody responding to me on Wednesday? And by Friday, they're off to another group.
Right.
So the people worth talking to notice that immediately. And it does the opposite for building trust.
And remember that when you are participating in a group, your LinkedIn photo and 60 characters or so of your headline are following you, your every comment and your every post. And so, hence, you need to optimize both that photo and the headline, because it's the first impression that people receive when you post and comment. And that's exactly what we optimize in the LinkedIn Profile Lab. Because the moment someone in a group gets curious enough to click and view your name, your profile is doing the heavy lifting without you saying another word. And now let's talk about the third thing that LinkedIn doesn't tell you about groups. The people who are known in a group are rarely the ones who are posting the most. They're the ones quietly, authoritatively answering.
And that's so true, Nancy. And we've talked about the importance of commenting before.
Yes.
Comments carry way more weight than posts. And inside a group, that effect is even stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Take note. A specific, useful answer outperforms a generic, original post. Because inside a niche room, everyone can tell the difference between a real answer and a warmed over opinion.
Oh, that's so true. Comments inside a group are proof that you understand the problem, proof that you're showing up consistently and being of service. It's a softer, lower pressure way to create visibility and be seen. And it starts conversations, real conversations. And here's something that many people miss, Darlene, that repeated participation beats a single viral comment. What do you think?
One great comment gets you noticed. Sorry. One great comment gets you noticed once. Showing up with something useful every time a familiar question comes around is what gets you remembered, and you want to be remembered. That's how you go from a name I've seen in this group to someone I trust enough to message. So, to give you an example, I was in a LinkedIn group where someone shared a challenge they were having in their business. Instead of pitching, I added a helpful comment, and then they replied, and we had a brief exchange in the comments. Later, we connected, and that simple interaction turned into a real conversation. That's why I tell people not to underestimate comments. Sometimes comment creates the connection, and the connection creates the opportunity. And that's the real shift people miss. Comments don't close deals, they open the door to a DM, a connection request, or an email, and only after you've already shown you're worth talking to.
right? And then that moves the conversation outside the group. But the same rule applies. Your profile has to hold up to the trust that the comment just built. And again, this is what we address in the LinkedIn Profile Lab, making sure that your profile is attracting and messaging exactly what you want to say so that the credibility you built in comments and in posts is maintained. So in closing, what LinkedIn doesn't tell you about groups is this: they were never meant to be a spam channel. They're a room full of people already gathered around a problem that you solve. Hence, it's a great opportunity for you.
And member count doesn't matter. Activities do. Groups aren't a shortcut around your network. They're a back door into it. And any comments, not posts, are usually where the relationship starts building.
Right. So the three things that we covered today are about member count, about the back door, and about comments. What action step, Darlene, would you suggest our viewers take?
I think it would be a great opportunity for them to search for groups to join or search the groups that they have already joined and find one that is active and on topic.
Right. And as we close, let me leave you with this thought. Most experts join a group hoping it will work for them. It won't, but showing up consistently with something to say that's useful, that will. If today made you realize that your profile might not be ready for that moment when someone presses click, we fix that in the LinkedIn Profile Lab. The next one will be in September. Please message us if you'd like an invitation. Because when someone finally clicks on your name after reading your comment, would you rather deepen that connection or lose them and they keep on scrolling? To your sales and business success, this is Dr. Nancy Zare, sales psychologist, helping you confidently acquire clients without being salesy.
And I'm Darlene Petrie, lead generation strategist, helping professionals turn LinkedIn visibility into real business conversations. And join us next week for